My cheating wife caught red-handed. At a corporate party, she snuck away with her lover, only to return and find a mysterious gift box waiting on the table. Smirking, she called me a naive fool, not realizing that box held the key to exposing her betrayal and dismantling her lies. This is the story of how one gift changed everything. Stay tuned. The annual gala hosted by Strathmore and Company was the epitome of luxury. Glittering chandeliers bathed the grand ballroom in golden light, and the soft notes of a live string quartet floated through the air. It was the kind of evening that celebrated success, the type of success I had spent my entire career building. Yet as I stood by the bar nursing a scotch, I felt a cold emptiness that not even the finest whiskey could warm. My wife, Evelyn, was across the room, captivating the crowd in her midnight blue gown that shimmered with every movement. Her laughter rang out, a melodic contrast to the quiet murmurs of the other guests. Everyone adored Evelyn. Her charm was magnetic. But for me, that magnetism had dulled, tainted by months of suspicion and deceit. I watched as she leaned in close to Andrew Morgan, a new face at the firm, his youthful arrogance evident in every gesture. Evelyn's hand brushed his arm, her touch lingering a second too long. My jaw tightened. "Ethan, aren't you going to join us?" My colleague Mark clapped me on the back, breaking my trance. "In a bit," I replied, forcing a smile. My eyes never left Evelyn as she whispered something to Andrew. Moments later, the two slipped out of the ballroom, their absence as loud as a gunshot to me. I'd had my suspicions for months. The late-night yoga classes that ended hours after the studio closed. Unexplained charges on our joint credit card. The way she suddenly guarded her phone like it held state secrets. It all culminated 2 weeks ago when I discovered a burner phone hidden in her gym bag. The messages I found were explicit, shameless, and damning, confirming my worst fears. Evelyn and Andrew weren't just having an affair, they were plotting to drain our finances and start a new life together. That night, I made a decision. If Evelyn wanted to play games, I'd show her I was the master. Every move had to be calculated. I wouldn't just expose their betrayal, I'd dismantle their entire plan. Evelyn returned to the gala about 20 minutes later, her cheeks flushed and her lipstick faintly smudged. She sauntered over to our table, her eyes immediately catching on a small, intricately wrapped box I'd left there. "For me?" she asked, her tone dripping with faux sweetness. "Of course," I replied evenly. A little surprise. She picked up the box, a sly smile playing on her lips. "You always know how to spoil me," she said, glancing over at Andrew, who had re-entered the room with an air of studied casualness. Evelyn's eyes sparkled as she opened the box to reveal a single key resting on a velvet cushion. "What's this for?" she asked, her confusion evident. "Something special," I said, raising my glass. "You'll find out soon enough." Her laughter was nervous, the flicker of unease on her face betraying her. That was the moment I knew I had her attention. The weeks leading up to the gala had been a whirlwind of preparation. I'd hired a private investigator named Victor, a retired detective with decades of experience and an unshakable reputation for uncovering the truth. Victor approached the case with the precision of a chess master, each move deliberate and calculated. He began by shadowing Evelyn's every step, blending into the background with ease, while meticulously documenting her routines and interactions. It wasn't long before he unearthed damning evidence, a hidden apartment she and Andrew had purchased on the outskirts of the city. The financial trail was bold, almost audacious. Using records Victor retrieved, I discovered that Evelyn had been systematically siphoning money from our joint accounts to fund the apartment and other lavish expenses. Detailed bank statements revealed payments for designer furnishings, expensive meals, and private getaways, all of it concealed under fabricated expenses. With Victor's help, I discreetly transferred the majority of our shared funds into accounts she couldn't access, leaving just enough for her to believe she was still in control. Victor didn't stop there. He managed to infiltrate the apartment, posing as a maintenance worker, and installed hidden cameras in strategic locations. The footage he collected was irrefutable. Evelyn and Andrew's secret rendezvous were recorded in vivid detail. Their whispered plans to elope and start a new life together were no longer speculative. They were a matter of record. Victor's updates came daily, each new piece of evidence adding to the mountain of proof against Evelyn. From time-stamped photos of their secret meetings at secluded cafes to receipts that contradicted her alibis, every detail painted a picture of betrayal and greed. He even captured images of Andrew purchasing items with the same credit card Evelyn used for her supposed charitable donations. The key in the gift box was the linchpin of my plan. It wasn't just a prop, it was bait, a calculated move to draw Evelyn deeper into her own web of deceit. The key led to the apartment, her supposed sanctuary, where every lie and betrayal would come crashing down under the weight of the evidence. By the time Victor had finished his investigation, I felt like a general standing before a battlefield, every piece perfectly aligned for the final move. Victor installed hidden cameras in the apartment, providing me with live feeds of their private escapades. Every kiss, every whispered plan, every betrayal was documented in high definition. But the key in the gift box? That was the linchpin. It would lead Evelyn straight to the trap I had so meticulously set. Friday arrived, crisp and clear. I told Evelyn I'd be working late. She kissed me on the cheek, her usual excuse ready. "I'll just have a quiet night at home," she said, flashing a smile that no longer held any warmth. Instead of heading to the office, I parked a block away from the apartment. The street was quiet, illuminated by the faint glow of streetlights and the occasional hum of passing cars. At precisely 8:15 p.m., Evelyn and Andrew arrived, their laughter echoing faintly in the night air. She clutched his arm as they approached the door, their familiarity and ease a bitter sight. They disappeared inside, blissfully unaware that their every move was being documented by the hidden cameras I'd carefully installed weeks prior. For nearly 2 hours, I sat in my car, watching the live feed on my phone. The apartment's cameras captured it all. Their shared dinner over a candlelit table, the way Evelyn leaned in to whisper in Andrew's ear, her hand trailing along his arm. My stomach churned with a mix of anger and determination. The evidence wasn't just for me anymore. It was the cornerstone of their undoing. At 10 p.m., I stepped out of my car. The cool night air felt sharp against my skin as I approached the apartment. My footsteps echoed down the empty hallway as I reached their door. I knocked twice, the sound reverberating like a judge's gavel. Inside, I heard hurried whispers and the shuffle of footsteps before Evelyn opened the door. Her face drained of color, her usual poise replaced with shock and fear. "Ethan," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. She instinctively moved to block the entrance, but I stepped forward, unyielding. Andrew appeared behind her, his earlier bravado now replaced with wide-eyed panic. He held a wine glass in one hand, his grip tightening as though it might offer some form of defense. "Good evening," I said, my tone calm but cutting. The air in the room felt heavy, charged with the weight of unspoken truths. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. With a single tap, I brought the live footage to the screen. The scenes of their intimate dinner played out in real time, the damning evidence filling the silence between us. Evelyn's face crumpled as she realized what I had done. Tears welled in her eyes, but they felt hollow to me now, another performance in a string of deceptions. Andrew's expression shifted from panic to outright fear. He set the glass down, his hands trembling as he took a step back. "Enjoying the apartment?" I asked coldly, my gaze shifting between them. "I hope it was worth it." My words hung in the air, sharp and unforgiving, as they both stood frozen, their illusions shattered before their eyes. The fallout was swift and ruthless. On Monday morning, I walked into the boardroom, the atmosphere buzzing with the usual anticipation of a weekly meeting. Andrew sat near the head of the table, his arrogance radiating as he chuckled with a colleague, completely unaware of the storm about to descend upon him. When the meeting commenced, I rose from my seat, folder in hand. "Effective immediately, Andrew Morgan is terminated," I declared, my voice cutting through the chatter like a blade. Gasps and murmurs rippled across the room as I slid the folder down the polished table toward him. "Misuse of company funds and gross misconduct," I continued, my tone leaving no room for doubt. Inside the folder was an airtight compilation of evidence, detailed financial records, receipts, and images documenting Andrew's indiscretions. Andrew's confident smirk faded as he flipped through the documents. His face grew pale, his hands trembling as he tried to stammer a defense. This is a mistake," he croaked, but the evidence spoke louder than any excuse he could muster. Security appeared within moments, their presence a silent confirmation of his downfall. They escorted him out under the stunned gaze of his colleagues, his pleas for reconsideration echoing down the hallway. For Evelyn, the consequences were far more personal and devastating. That same week, I filed for divorce, armed with an arsenal of proof that left no room for negotiation. In court, the financial audits and the video evidence from the apartment painted an irrefutable portrait of her betrayal. The judge's ruling was swift and severe. Evelyn walked away with nothing. Her once polished reputation crumbled overnight. Friends who had sung her praises now distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with the scandal. Even her closest allies abandoned her, their loyalty vanishing as quickly as the facade she had worked so hard to maintain. The glamorous image she projected to the world was now replaced with whispers of disgrace and betrayal. Evelyn's desperation grew with each passing day. She tried to plead with me, showing up at my office unannounced, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, I made a mistake," she sobbed, her voice cracking with emotion. "We can fix this. Please, we can fix this." I looked at her, my gaze steady and unyielding. "The only mistake," I replied, my voice devoid of any warmth, "was thinking I wouldn't find out." My words hit her like a blow, and for the first time, she seemed to realize the full weight of her actions. In the weeks that followed, Evelyn attempted to rebuild, but the fallout was relentless. Invitations to events dried up, her social media accounts were flooded with whispers and judgment, and the world she had carefully curated seemed to collapse in on itself. Andrew, once her partner in crime, had disappeared, cutting all ties as he tried to salvage his own tarnished life. She was left utterly alone, a shadow of the vibrant woman she once pretended to be. Months passed, and life moved on. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. The anger and betrayal that had consumed me were replaced with a quiet satisfaction. One evening, I stood on the riverbank near the apartment, holding the key that had set everything in motion. With a flick of my wrist, I tossed it into the water, watching as it disappeared beneath the surface, swallowed by the current. Revenge had never been my ultimate goal. It wasn't about destruction. It was about reclaiming my life, my power, and my dignity. And in doing so, I had found something far more valuable than justice: freedom from a life built on lies. The echoes of betrayal no longer haunted me. I was free, ready to move forward into a future I had reclaimed as my own. Months passed and life moved on. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. My focus shifted to rebuilding my career at the Strathmore and Company, a place where my name was synonymous with success and integrity. The fallout of the scandal had sent shockwaves through the firm, but I used it as an opportunity to reinforce my standing and prove my resilience. My team grew stronger, my leadership more decisive, and for the first time in years, I felt the unshakable confidence that had propelled me to the top. One evening, I stood on the riverbank near the apartment, holding the key that had set everything in motion. It felt heavier now, not because of its size, but because of what it symbolized. With a flick of my wrist, I tossed it into the water, watching as it disappeared beneath the surface, swallowed by the current. The ripples it created seemed to echo the final chapters of a painful story. Revenge wasn't just about exposing the truth. It was about reclaiming my life, my power, and my sense of self. The echoes of betrayal no longer haunted me, and in their place was a renewed sense of purpose. Through the ashes of a broken marriage and shattered trust, I found something far more valuable than justice: freedom, and the clarity to move forward into a life I could truly call my own. That concludes this story. Let me know what you think about this, and put it in the comments. Make sure to consider watching the next unbelievable and captivating story.